The fight that would sell and that would be huge, it would be that. It would be Diaz 3.
Oh, yeah.
That could be, especially if Diaz gets past Poirier.
Yes.
Even if he doesn't. I mean, just that fight alone. I mean, there's the history between those two guys. Mm-hmm. I mean, that would be...
And it's so appealing stylistically as well, the fight, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a grappler at heart. I love grappling. But I also understand that a jiu-jitsu tournament will put people to sleep, you know. Even if you're into jiu-jitsu, it's hard to watch a jiu-jitsu tournament.
Yes.
But anybody can see a punch hitting someone in the head and then falling down. That's, you know, that's exciting. And him and Diaz is such a great personality matchup. It's such a great skill clash. You know, if I was to design somebody that's going to bring the best out of corner, you'd want someone that, you know, can hit back and take a big shot and put up at the trash. It's a beautiful fight. I always...
You know, we're still working on that fight. That fight's not done yet, but yeah, I wouldn't count out a Conor.
Dana said the UFC card, White House card, is going to be the most watched card ever. So again, you're going to have guys like this in order to achieve that, because right now they don't have the roster to do it. So we got to do Blast from the Past. Mm-hmm. It's a McDonald's card. Nate, Conor.
If Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor finally settle their score on the White House card, it won't be a case of nostalgia alone. It'll be a matter of legacy. Analysts are divided, with some visualizing a statement finish for McGregor if he comes out swinging hard in the early rounds, while others point to Diaz's chin, pace, and ability to drag his opponents into a world of chaos, which could set the stage for a trilogy where adjustments and composure are the deciding factors.
Because that's not the fight I want to see next, okay? If Nate Diaz comes back and gets a big win over someone in the welterweight division, okay, and he does it impressively, and then the McGregor fight happens, that's when I'm interested. But right now, I feel like the hardcore fans are kind of in mutual agreement that it's Masvidal or Gaethje. To us, it's kind of Masvidal or Gaethje, and for Chael Sonnen and Ariel Helwani to both say that they think Nate Diaz trilogy should be next is strange to me. Very strange to me, because I would love to see either Gaethje or Masvidal. I feel like everyone's in agreement here. We've seen that Donald Cerrone has been beaten by Conor McGregor in his return at UFC 2.
Nate Diaz isn't looking to complete side quests. He's looking at unfinished business and real fights. Although the talk is about a potential rematch with Jake Paul, Diaz appears to be more interested in legitimate fights, insinuating that for the right price, he's ready to walk right back into the fire. A trilogy with Conor McGregor, a fight with Dustin Poirier, or other big-name fighters. It's all up for grabs. And when the notion of fighting on a White House card was brought up, no questions asked. For Diaz, it's easy. Big stage, real smoke, and back to proving he belongs among the best.
I don't know what the next move is. You know what I'm saying? Like, part of you want to run it back with Jake. I mean, I remember you won that fight. A lot of people felt that. I'm sure you felt that. And then you see what happens with Anthony Joshua. It kind of feels like, you know, maybe, do you feel like he shouldn't even be doing this? You know what I mean? Like,
talking about who?
About Jake Paul.
Nah, he's doing it. He fought the heavyweight champion and kind of stuff. He's doing a great job, I think. And then besides that, I'm doing a real fight. I would like to fight. I'd like to fight somebody. Man, for the right price. I'm ready to get back in real action. I want to fight either McGregor 3. I want to fight maybe Dustin Poirier if he's happy to take the pussy, and then maybe Mike Perry. We'll see what happens in the future, though.
You want the White House card?
Yeah, that'd be dope too.
McGregor on the White House card?
America gang, baby. You already know what's popping.
From the perspective of Michael Bisping, the story of Nate Diaz is a wild rise built off one seismic moment, stunning Conor McGregor and forcing the world to pay attention. That upset turned him into a star overnight. The rematch kept the spotlight burning, and the payday changed everything. According to Bisping's take, the momentum carried Diaz into massive earnings and mainstream fame before he stepped away from the UFC to test himself in the boxing ring against Jake Paul. A move that, in his view, didn't go Diaz's way and marked a tough chapter in an otherwise remarkable run.
Obviously, Nate Diaz is 40 years old. He shot to stardom when he shocked the world and choked out Conor McGregor.
Hey, I'm not surprised, mother.
Then they had the rematch. McGregor looked great, beat him up over 5 rounds, but he wasn't able to finish it. Now, Nate Diaz, because of that, made a tremendous amount of money, and his stardom just shot through the absolute roof, and he made an absolute fortune. And then he left the UFC, and he went off to box Jake Paul, and he lost to Jake Paul, okay? It was an embarrassing night for Nate Diaz. Simple.
Continuing his take, Bisping made it clear that while a matchup between Diaz and Max Holloway would be thrilling, the real blockbuster lies elsewhere. In his view, if Diaz returns and McGregor truly makes his comeback, the trilogy is the only fight that makes complete sense. Their previous clashes weren't just big, they were era-defining events, and staging the third chapter on a White House card would elevate an already historic rivalry into something unforgettable.
But wouldn't you rather see Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor at the White House? That's the fight that I'd rather see, if I'm honest. Nate Diaz versus Max Holloway, yeah, that would be a tremendous fight. We'd all love to see it if Nate Diaz was to come back. But if he was, and if Conor McGregor does actually make it back, I think that's the fight to make all day long. The one-on-one, they were some of the biggest fights in UFC history. Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor at the White House would be absolute.
Bisping said the White House card could realistically feature McGregor against either Chandler or Diaz, showing just how massive the event could be. He noted it's been years since McGregor last fought, but gave him credit for even considering a return, stressing that it's not about the money. The competitive fire never really leaves. The real question is whether that hunger is enough to get him all the way back into the cage on a stage that big. Either way, fans are already buzzing at the thought of the chaos and drama only this matchup could deliver.
We will have Conor McGregor versus someone, Michael Chandler or Nate Diaz, in the co-main event. So that just kind of sets the tone for how big that card would be. What do you think? Do you think Conor McGregor will actually make it back? Of course, he hasn't fought since 2021, right? It's going to be 5 years since he last fought. I, for one, fair play to the guy. Fair play, man. Respect. He doesn't need to do this. He doesn't need to come back. He's got lots of other avenues and ways to make money. But fighting is something that never leaves you, okay? It's a part of who you are. It's in your DNA. It's part of your soul. And he wants to come back and he wants to get his hands raised in victory. Of course, he wants to come back and be a part of that White House card as well. But does he make it?
And then MMA Guru shifted the conversation to timing and context, framing it from the fans' perspective. He explained that the next must-watch fight depends on Diaz actually coming back and scoring a big win in the welterweight division. Only then does the trilogy with McGregor really make sense on the White House card. At the moment, hardcore fans are divided between matchups like Masvidal or Glover Teixeira, but insiders, including Ariel Helwani, are quietly favoring Diaz versus McGregor as the next headline-grabbing showdown. If that trilogy comes together, it could easily steal the entire card and dominate MMA headlines for months.
Because that's not the fight I want to see next, okay? If Nate Diaz comes back and gets a big win over someone in the welterweight division, okay? And he does it impressively, and then the McGregor fight happens. That's when I'm interested. But right now, I feel like the hardcore fans are kind of in mutual agreement that it's Masvidal or Gaethje. To us, it's kind of Masvidal or Gaethje, and for Chael Sonnen and Ariel Helwani to both say that they think Nate Diaz trilogy should be next is strange to me. Very strange to me, because I would love to see either Gaethje or Masvidal. I feel like everyone's in agreement here. We've seen that Donald Cerrone has been beaten by Conor McGregor in his return at UFC 2.
However, Brendan Schaub broke it down bluntly. If the UFC is bringing Diaz back, it's all about unfinished business, and the only matchup that makes sense is him versus McGregor for the BMF belt. He acknowledged Diaz's career has been huge, with a loyal fan base and legendary moments, but pointed out that his recent boxing ventures, especially the loss to Jake Paul, haven't helped his momentum. Still, Schaub stressed that a Diaz-McGregor trilogy on a White House card would electrify casual fans and hardcore followers alike, likely producing one of the biggest pay-per-view gates in UFC history. He added that even with past setbacks, the hype around Diaz stepping back into the octagon with McGregor is impossible to ignore.
The UFC reached out to him. Taking what's his, is that the BMF belt against Conor? Like that'd be the only reason you bring Nate back.
Yeah. Unfinished, I could only see being Conor.
That's it. His business is finished outside Conor.
Yeah.
But also, it is what it is. I mean, he's had a great career, especially with his record and, you know, stuff that he's done. He's had a great career, has a huge fan base. Nobody watched him box Masvidal. The numbers were atrocious. So,
and coming off a loss from Jake Paul,
that doesn't help.
No.
But again, you got to think the UFC's they're doing a McDonald's card here, like Happy Meals and Big Macs and Quarter Pounders and the McFlurries. So Nate versus Conor, all right, like that would get people crunk.
It is
people,
one of the,
the people that don't watch the sport.
It's probably got to be, their fight has to be probably one of the highest, if not the highest,
It's up
pay-per-view gates, right?
Yeah, it's up there. Now, though,
On the other hand, Chael Sonnen framed it from the business angle, pointing out that this isn't a typical fight night. With the event fixed on Paramount Plus instead of pay-per-view, the UFC isn't chasing traditional revenue, so spending big on high-profile fighters has to make sense in another way. For Sonnen, the real hook is the location itself. Just like the UFC once made the Sphere the star, this time it's the White House drawing attention. The venue isn't just a backdrop, it's the centerpiece, giving fans a reason to tune in beyond the fighters themselves. He added that with a star-studded card and such an iconic setting, even casual viewers are bound to be captivated.
The business side of it. And this is a very different night. First off, you got a fixed revenue. You're not selling pay-per-views. Now, that could change. I'm operating with the information that we have now. You got fixed. It's on Paramount Plus. They're not going to do pay-per-view. So it's a question of why bring in some of your most expensive guys. Now, secondly, and far more importantly, is the location as the hook. The draw to this, much like when they played Sphere the first time. And so that was the only time that the UFC has ever, including the time that they went to Madison Square Garden, the only time that they have ever used a venue as the star was Sphere. Now we've got the White House. That's the hook. That's the...
Sonnen continued, emphasizing that Dana isn't going to bring fighters to the White House just for them to retire. The show has to go on. He pointed out that while McGregor can draw massive attention, that spotlight can be used to elevate other fighters, even if he isn't planning a long-term run. The tricky part, Sonnen added, is that building new stars around McGregor is difficult because he dominates the room. His presence alone can overshadow everyone else. But that same star power is exactly what makes the card so irresistible. Ultimately, Sonnen argued that McGregor's involvement guarantees eyeballs, buzz, and a platform that few others could ever provide.
Dana's not going to bring people to the White House for them to retire. He's just not. He's not going to bring people to the White House for them to then turn the gun and say that they're not going to go on the next tour, wherever that tour takes us. The show must go on. So from my perspective, it makes it very unlikely that you're going to see Conor, you're going to see Jon Jones. Now, Jon is not this huge draw. Conor is. So there is times where you've got to blend these two worlds together, right? There is times where you're going to use Conor to bring in all of these eyeballs. And even if he specifically isn't going to take you down the road, that attention can then spawn off to other guys. There is a truth to that. But it was also true that it's very hard to build stars at the time that you have Conor McGregor because he sucks all the air out of the room.
And more on the potential fighters on the White House card, Gable Stevenson expressed excitement at the possibility of being on the White House card, calling it an honor and a chance to represent the U.S. as an Olympic champion. He said he's focused on taking things one day at a time, but would love to be a face of the event, supporting the UFC while growing his own profile. Stevenson added that whether it happens on this card or another, the audience will be watching. The platform and the moment are bigger than any single fight. He also emphasized that sharing a card with stars like McGregor or Jones would be an unforgettable experience and a major boost for his career.
You said if things go to plan this Thursday, potentially maybe you'll call for this White House card. What would it mean for you to actually be on this White House card, especially with, you know, we don't know who's on there yet. Maybe Jon Jones might be on there. You guys might be on there together, like on the same card together, White House. That would be crazy.
Yeah, it would be an honor to be on the White House card, but I take one day at a time. You know, I would love to be the face of it. You know, Olympic champion from USA coming to support the American company, the UFC, and kind of grow myself in that area. But if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, the world keeps going on, and the next big thing will come. And whether I'm on it on the U.S. White House card or the next card or the one before that.
Moreover, Sean O'Malley was real about the White House card, admitting he hasn't received any calls or confirmations yet and that his spot isn't guaranteed. He pointed out that the event is still far out, giving plenty of time for the UFC to finalize matchups, and mentioned seeing names like Jon Jones, GSP, and the McGregor-Diaz trilogy floating around. Even noting that GSP had long retired, O'Malley stressed that the UFC promised something massive after the Sphere event, and fans are expecting them to deliver this time.
But yeah, they said they were starting the White House card last week, Tuesday matchmaking. They said they were starting it.
Damn.
I haven't got a call. I haven't got a jingle. Haven't heard nothing. Still Sugar Show might not be on the White House card. Don't. No, it's still far. It's still so far out. Like, it's still far enough out to I don't know. I'm seeing John Jones and I'm seeing GSP maybe.
I seen that.
Conor versus Nate.
I thought GSP retired like forever.
He did.
Okay.
But it's like they got to do something big. They promised something massive for the Sphere and it sucked.
So what do you think? Who comes out on top in this epic trilogy? Drop your predictions in the comments and tell us why you think your pick has the edge. Will it be the relentless pace and grit of Diaz or the precision and firepower of McGregor? We want to hear your takes, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss all the latest updates, fight breakdowns, and behind the scenes analysis as this saga unfolds.